Hello, this is Dr. Jackie Jiang. Today, I would like to discuss different types of family law related evaluation. I've been getting many questions from parents, family members, attorneys, different professionals regarding the types of family law related evaluation. So today, I'm just trying to cover different types and topics here. Hopefully, this will be beneficial. Let's see, share the screen. I made an outline so we can all see. Okay, there are different types, family law related evaluations. I had a video a couple years ago regarding the family law child custody evaluation questions and answers. So this is just almost like a continue, or it's a different type of video trying to cover the categories that what type of family are related here. The first one you can check my video out. It's a more detailed. This is the point focuses of the child custody evaluation depending on the states. Some states call it child custody evaluation, still use the terms of primary care, physical care. The other states use parenting, like Illinois, use a parenting time, parenting responsibilities evaluation here. So you can check the previous video. Here I mainly will discuss about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 different types that often pop up during a court proceeding. The second one I want to talk about is change of parenting time or change of child custody evaluation. After a couple of years or few years, if there are significant changes in the child's life or in the parent's life or situation, if the court decided to make a different ruling about the previous child custody arrangement, I will use both, child custody and primary custody or parenting time. This is a similar thing. If the court decided to make a different ruling, they probably want some experts to redo an evaluation, see if the situation is significant to warrant this the change, to facilitate. Mainly is to help the judge to make a decision. So depending on the time and situation of changes, sometimes it's almost have to go freshly from the beginning, just as a brand new child custody evaluation. I mean, I have done updates, like one ruling is done with my evaluation, and then after a couple of years, something changes, I can do an update. There's a lot of test results. Some of the test results I will maintain to this stage, but if it's done by another psychologist or another state, ruled by another court, or some significant changes have done, so this part will be almost just as a fresh, initial child custody evaluation. So I put it here: interactional, multi-layer. This is on average, it probably takes about 3 months, similar to the child custody event. Of course, if this is a follow-up or update, it might take less time. All depends on how much information records I need to review, and how many changes done throughout the years, and what other information that need to be evaluated or added on. So it could take about a month. It could take about 3 months. Average is about 3 months. Because if you're beyond like 6 months, or even all the previous information you gathered, probably not super valid in a way. Things changes throughout 6 month period. So I try to get it done within 3 months. Collaterals, I will call collaterals in this type of evaluation: parent, teachers, counselors. I will call them if you want me to call parents or grandparents. This evaluation is similar to a child custody evaluation, initial one. We would analyze the psychology, psychological testing, traits, personality traits of each parent, and linked to their personality skill, parenting skills, how these psychological factors linked to their parenting skills, the ability to parent. Does that impair, any of these impair their parenting skill? That's the most important factors. And the environment changes, how the environment might impact the child's development. These will be discussed. How the interaction between the two parents, which is part of the environment, the co-parenting skills impacted the child's development. These will be discussed in this type of evaluation. That's why it's a comprehensive. Time frame, I discussed about time frame. I'm trying to get it as simple as possible. Last video runs a little bit too long. Let's see, differences from initial evaluation. This is we discussed just now. We want to focus on what have changed during the first. It's changed from the first evaluation. If nothing has changed or very little change, it probably not even warrant a re-evaluation. You see, in this type of a situation. Other things might be different, like ADHD. Insurance company or doctors like to be re-evaluated every 2 or 3 years. That's a different story. But this type of thing, the legal proceedings, you have to have some type of significant changes. Number 3, sometimes that'll be court ordered, or some parents will initiate a parental alienation evaluation. It's similar to the first 2, with a focus on the parenting skills, co-parenting difficulties, and the pathology. The pathology of the parents focuses on behavior pattern, personality pathology, and impact on children. Research has suggested most alienating parents have some type of personality disorder. Those will be evaluated. Not all, it's just recommendations of different various experts in doing this type of evaluation. So those will be analyzed. And the behavior pattern, okay, even the parents does not have any type of personality disorder, the behavior, what they have been doing as a pattern that is detrimental to the child's development, such as, make subtle comments. Like, if a child wants to go to another parent's house and make a subtle comments, you feel safe? You sure you'll have fun? You sure you'll have fun? Those type of subtle behaviors, those will be analyzed. There are other stuff. Without me going into too much details, that is just an example. This is interactional parental alienation. I would do a parent-child interaction observation, okay, in my office. Sometimes I'll do home visit, but home visit is most likely with the first 2, 1 and 2. Parental alienation I sometimes do, sometimes don't. The next category is the parenting capacity. I go with the most extensive one, the longest time frame one, from the first one, second one, the third one. Parental alienation usually take about a shorter time, probably a month or so. I will get it done, depending on the materials submitted for me to review. Some, other documentations such as DCFS reports or police reports, any of those, depending on the review time as well. Parenting capacity. Parenting capacity 3 and 4, 4 and 5. I will put these 2 almost together. I call it parenting capacity. DCFS will call it parenting capacity. Some other states, some other experts will call it parenting capacity evaluation. You have to link, if one is a parenting capacity, you have to link the psychology to the parenting skill. It might not you may not analyze the environments. Collateral phone calls, I usually don't do that during parenting capacity. Sometimes I will do the observation, sometimes I don't. Parenting capacity, if there is some refusal cases or haven't really seen the child for a long, or if there is a restraining order, so it's not possible for me to observe the parent and child interaction. I will probably just not do it. That part, I would just evaluate how the psychology, how the the parents' personality traits that would impact the parenting, his or her parenting skills. Okay, that's why I put it here, different names. People call it different. Supreme Court Rule 215. This is similar when sometimes the court will order to prove the mental state, mental physical. For me, if you refer to me, it will be more mental exams. The mental states impact a person's parenting skills. Okay, so it's not just a mental health evaluation. In this type of situation, you have to link how the mental health, the parent's mental health state to their parenting skills. You have to link those two together. These two, I put it here, with or without children involved. Oops. Supreme Court link the mental health condition to a parenting skills. Okay, sometimes it's the judge didn't know or the attorney don't know, they would just order a psychological evaluation or a mental health evaluation. But the whole point is for them to know, for the evaluation to be beneficial, for them to make a decision, like which, if the parent is stable enough to parent the child. So you want your evaluation, you can clarify with the attorneys and judges, you want the evaluation to be beneficial. If that's the goal, to find out if the parent is stable enough to parent, you want to do a parenting capacity instead of just do a court-ordered psychological evaluation. A lot of times the judges that would order this psychological evaluation, this number 6, but actually the judge wants to know if the psychological state impact the parenting. You can have diagnosed with depression, anxiety, or even bipolar or OCD or some of these diagnoses, but they may not impact the parent's parenting. If the parent, as I said in the first video, if the parent has diagnosis and is responsible, capable to parent a child, or even substance abuse, that is a different story. But substance abuse, alcoholism, these things, you can give them diagnosis, but if these diagnoses do not impact their parenting skills of their children, I have to discuss those things, okay? Because it's easy for people to randomly throw out allegations during this type of court proceedings. So you want to stay focused on these things. The least extensive one would be the court-ordered psychological evaluation. I hardly even do these things, court-ordered, not court-ordered psychological evaluation on a parent. It's still on a parent. If it's related to parenting skills, you have to do any of these above, not just a psychological evaluation. The goal for psychological evaluation is always to find the correct diagnosis to direct the treatment. That's all. You cannot recommend beyond that. You cannot recommend parenting. You can recommend treatment for certain diagnoses, such as a personality disorder. You can recommend a certain, according to the research, you recommend certain type of treatment for this type of personality disorder, or OCD, according to research, what is the best treatment for OCD, anxiety, depression, but you cannot touch any of the parenting skills. Okay, and for psychologists, do not recommend any of those. But these two, parenting capacity, you can touch the parenting skills because of this type of diagnosis that will impact this type of parenting skills. So what's your recommendation? Do you recommend a parenting class? Do you recommend some type of court-ordered coordination? Do you recommend some type of treatment program or facilitation during the drop off and pick up, those things? And these two, you cannot touch the other. I forgot to discuss this. These two, you can, because you only evaluate one person. In general, you evaluate one parent, unless sometimes the judge would order both parents to be evaluated. But in general, if just one parent is ordered to be evaluated, you cannot touch the other parent. You cannot make recommendations, say this parent is a great parent, so the parent should have all these visitations, time with the children. Well, this parent can be great, the other parents can be greater, better. Or this parent is a bad parent, for example, or not capable parents. Well, the other parents could be just as bad or even worse. So these two, you can, because you do not evaluate the other party, you should not touch anything, do any recommendation, touch the, the other parent. So all right, the therapy does not equal evaluation. So do not do any type of evaluation, especially during the court proceedings. You change it from therapy to evaluation, change it from evaluation to therapy. I do not do those things, especially during the court proceedings. If it's ADHD evaluation, the parents wants to be evaluated or doctor recommended the kids are evaluated for ADHD, it's not a court really, it's not forensic in nature. It's, and the parents sometimes will say, hey, can you see my children afterwards? I may consider, I usually just refer this type of treatment, ADHD treatment or anxiety to adjustment disorder to my clinicians. So I would do that, try to avoid the conflict of the interest. I mean, that's probably the fine line, the bottom I would touch. You do an evaluation first, you are neutral, because evaluator have to be neutral, and then you treatment as a treater, you have to develop a therapeutic alliance, so you're not neutral. So you change it from a neutral role to a biased role. Some therapists as evaluators would never do that. I mean, depending on how many experts, treatment experts for autism, ADHD, sometimes it's just hard to find a certain diagnosed treatment. Eating disorder, we haven't have any eating disorder specialist in this area. So it's a hard, sometimes if you don't take the case in that way, that probably the person would not have any services. So you have to consider about these things. But in general, but it's a court order. If it's a court order case, I don't do both. Okay, whichever come first, I don't do. I usually tell at the beginning, if I have a chance to speak to the attorney or the parents, I would say, if you want me to do a therapy, you pretty much cast me out of any type of evaluation. Any of these 6, I cannot do any of these 6. Talk to your attorney first to make sure that that's the way that your attorney wants your case to go, because once we start a therapy, I will be biased for my client. That's called therapeutic alliance. You have to be biased for your clients. What's the best interest for the client? And then you are not neutral no more. So you cannot do any of these anymore, okay, in a court proceeding. So depending on the resources within a local area, you may want to consider that, or the attorney may want to consider that before just, okay, let's start therapy or family reunification therapy. Down the road, there's, there is some parental alienation involved. There's some other things involved, or one parent just thinks you're crazy, quote unquote, crazy, needs some parenting capacity. Is this parent's able to parent because of a personality disorder or something? And I cannot do that. And I have talked to various experts in locally. I have not to find anybody, referral source for even me to recommend to refer to do those type of evaluation. Like during a family reunification therapy, if somebody want me to recommend a parental alienation or parental care, parenting capacity evaluation evaluator, I have nobody to recommend during this. It's not I'm not willing to recommend it, I can't find a person to do this type of thing or do a good job of this type of thing in this area. Do not recommend change of visitation. This is huge. I like to bold it here. When I do evaluation, I see a lot of letters from social workers, therapists, treaters, so-called treaters. They recommend, okay, the child is suicidal, the child is so depressed, so I just recommend to do not visit. Well, you're touching the legal concepts. And when you were just a treater, your clinical judgment only valid in clinical setting. You cannot recommend anything, change of custody, change of visitation, even change of a schedule. You can help them explore the possibility of doing that. That's probably the farthest you should go clinically. If you guys can work it out, change the schedule, the daughter will go here, maybe that will help her a little bit, but do not recommend it, especially writing a letter. That is just called evidence. So do not Do not write any letter. I was reviewing charts. I see all these therapists having letters. I was like, oh, this is malpractice complaint. Don't do that. I understand the experience stuff. I'm just guilty as other people when I first started doing therapy work. So I try to be patient with these type of things, but I just want to be helpful for the young or inexperienced therapist when it comes to this, because it does come around, go bite you. Okay, do not do that. Do not do treatment and evaluation at the same time. That's what we talked about. Okay, I think that's ended. I think the time it should be good. If you have any question, just give me a call or leave messages down below. Hopefully this video has been helpful for everybody. Thank you.